divided into three tiers. 1 billion Indians are actually below $1,000. Every industry is going to see that transformation and disruption.
Good day. Welcome to yet another Conversations. Conversations make life better. They also make businesses better. We live in a world where narratives matter, where if you know information ahead of others, it does matter. Today we are talking to somebody who is truly at the cusp of technology, content, and AI. He's seen many companies, many industries, and is now building a company for the last 9 years in the technology content space. We keep talking about how Madison Avenue, Silicon Valley have come together. Here, Madison Avenue, Silicon Valley, and also Hollywood have come together. He's truly working at the intersection of advertising, content, and technology. Let me introduce the co-founder and CEO of VerSe Innovation, Mr. Umang Bedi, to you. Umang, thank you for talking to me. And I'm sure today viewers will learn from you, where is the digital economy in India headed? Umang broadly has had 3 careers. He started as a technology leader, let's say a software person, and then he became the youngest CEO of a company at 28. He's been CEO of Adobe in India, CEO of Intuit in India, CEO of Facebook in India, and 8+ years back he joined Virendra Gupta Viru to build VerSe, which is more known for Dailyhunt, to the next level. In the last 8+ years, VerSe Hunt or Dailyhunt, it used to be called NewsHunt at one point, has done acquisitions. It has acquired a magazine subscription platform, a digital magazine subscription platform. It's acquired One India to be able to beef up its play in Indian languages. It has acquired Value Leaf. It has acquired other businesses which has fitted well into the construct of what they are trying to serve to the consumer. So let me start by asking Umang, how's been this journey from being a professional CEO to a founder, from being a technology person to a CEO? So every now and then you keep making a leap.
Firstly, Anurag, big thank you for having me. It's always a privilege and a pleasure to talk to you. And I would say that the last, this transition that you talked about is one that is truly transformational. It's changed my life. I would characterize it to say that I think I had the privilege of learning from some of the best leaders and best companies early on, right? As a technology professional, when I started my career, Sun Microsystems, which was an acronym for Stanford University Networks, was the play because they invented Java. So that was a great foundation. Then learning from Scott Cook, the founder of Intuit, I think one of the most prolific CEOs I saw was Shantanu Narayan at Adobe, and learned so much from him. And then the business to consumer journey, or the B2C journey at Meta, which was then Facebook and Instagram, I think, with Zuck leading the way. Those were truly transformational learnings. But the core difference is when you become a founder, and you know this, I think you have to characterize that journey with a lot of humility. You don't have global products and tech that you are building go-to-market engines in the market on. You are trying to create that market. You have to create product, you have to invest in R&D, you have to invest in technology. And most humbly, you also need to know how to run the business, keep the lights on, pay salaries. So it is a very humbling journey.
Also manage investors.
Give
them hope.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the last 9 years has been characterized with some of the most tremendous learnings. I've had a lot of fun. One regret that I have is, why did I do this at 40? What if I'd done it at 30, right? And I had 10 more years as an entrepreneur. But I think the initial foundation that some of these tech businesses gave me, and the learnings from global leaders, have held me in very good stead in terms of building this business out right now. And yeah, it's been it's been a tremendous journey. I've really, really enjoyed it, and I think a long way to go, just getting started. We're just about getting the ship pivoted as we go into the next phase of growth. So I think, yeah, really pleasure to be here, and thank you.
And Umang, entrepreneurial journeys also bring out some of the skills or hidden talent that you may have, you may not have used it in a consciously used it in a leadership position. You CEO of very large companies in India. What are some of the things you've discovered about yourself while being a co-founder of a pioneering business, if I have to say?
I think the first thing that I've discovered about myself is, as a youngster, I was very impatient. I was always wanting to do things at a particular pace and set the tone, and I felt that was something I was chasing. I think today patience is the first thing that I've learned. The second thing that I've learned, as you're young and you're growing, you're chasing a title, you're chasing something. I think today the journey is you got to add value. If you go out and chase an element, it more often than not you'll do it wrong. But if you're truly adding value, whether it's to a consumer, whether it's to the brand that you're building, whether it's to advertisers if you're serving them, or investors who you're bringing along the journey, right? If you can't add value, you shouldn't be in business. I think that is a very, very key learning. The third one is, I would say, fiscal prudence, but from the point of frugality. And I've seen 3 journeys in that journey. One journey where we were very poor as a company, we had not raised too much capital. Then, of course, we had a moment in time opportunity with a TikTok ban, and we raised a lot of capital. And then the third journey of trying to bring this and pivot the ship down to profitability. So I think that fiscal prudence along that way, because you don't have global products that just get shipped to you. You have to create that in India as well. And so I think that's the third big learning for me. The fourth one that I would add, very important, is as a founder, you cannot be the jack of all trades. You have to bring in really good people, trust them, empower them beyond discomfort to make decisions, and sometimes just ask for forgiveness, because if you can't be across everything, and so you've got to build an outstanding team, a loyal team, and a team that is deeply mission driven. Businesses are going to have ups and downs, right? There's no business that is even keel and is always on the top. It's going to have lows. And at that time, the culture of the organization is set by your leadership team and the ones below who are carrying the ship forward, even through the lows. And I think that is, in my mind, the single biggest difference between a good company and a company that's built to last, right? If you think about the average lifespan of an S&P company, it's 15 years, right? And somebody asked me the other day, how would you define your company? And I said, the one word that defines it is resilience. Through ups, through downs, we will always be there, and we will be fighting another day. So we never, ever, ever give up.
And one, it's funny, we are talking today, and you talk about all these traits. I remember meeting you when you were Facebook CEO, and then you quit, and I called you and asked you, and you said, there's a duopoly in Meta and Meta and Google. You want to build something which is an alternative to them. And today we are talking here, the Pitch Madison advertising outlook came out, 1,75,000 crores was ad spends, almost 95,000 crores between less than 10 players. Have you been able to build an alternative? Are you on your way to build an alternative to the duopoly, or maybe the 5-6 players that have the lion's share in this ADEX?
Anurag, you stated a very pertinent question, and I think the most accurate report that I believe captures all kinds of spends, whether they go to platform, whether they go to ad agency, whether they go to programmatic, whether they go on direct credit card spends, is the Pitch Madison report. So firstly, Sam and his team have done an outstanding job. And I know you were involved in that journey as well, in creating what I think is a very accurate report at the 1,75,000 crores, 93,000 crores of which is digital and growing really fast, right? Here's the structural issue in India, okay? The first structural issue is we are not China. There are three Indias within India. India, one, so if you take our market GDP, right, it's $4 trillion, 1.5 billion people. You do the math, it's $2,600 GDP per capita. Now, when you divide that 1.5 or 1.45 billion people, divide it into three tiers. 1 billion Indians are actually below $1,000 GDP per capita. So they're not even consumers, right? One third, the next layer, is about 300 million people. 300 million people are driving one third of consumption, but they're at a GDP per capita of around $3,000, right? And then about 140 million people, which is the tier on top, right, or 150 million people max, is driving two-thirds of consumption, right? Which is, let's call it the India 1, the second layer India 2, the third layer India 3. Now, we have the eyeballs. We don't have the monetization, right, as a country. If you look at any business, look at two-wheeler sales in the last 3 years, stuck at 120 million consumers, right? If you look at travel, 120 million odd consumers. So that consumption is really being driven by that finite few. Look at food delivery, 20 million mao per month, right? Now, in this structural environment which has a constraint, we are not China, which has a closed internet. We have a sovereign internet in the country where everyone can play and it's a level playing field for all. There, when you look at that 93,000 crores, and just from the filings last year, Google and Facebook are about $35,000 and $30,000 each, so 65,000 there. And then the three e-commerce platforms add another 16,000 crores. So about 80,000 crores goes there. You're left in the 13,000 crore play, right? So structurally, to say that anyone in India has created an alternate to Google and Facebook is not true.
And do you think Jio can create it?
I think Jio can. Any business that has a backing of two mediums, right? I think what Jio has is really three mediums. It's got the connectivity, it's got the content, the telecom connectivity and data. It's got the content, and it has digital, right? It has all three playing at the intersection of cricket also around it. So I think Jio would be, in my mind, the most successful business, beyond doubt. When I look at outside of Jio, players who have come up in India, I would say today we're the largest in terms of our reach across VerSe Innovation, across Dailyhunt, Josh, Magzter, One India, serving over 300 million monthly active users, over 100 million daily active users on the platform, and a revenue scale that you touched about last year at over 1,900 crores. So I think we come next to that. But there are two plays. Either you say that I'm going to do this for the next 15 years because GDP per capita eventually, because India 1 today is at $5,000 GDP per capita. India 2 is at 3,000. India 3 is below 1,000. They're not even consuming, right? In the next 10, 15 years, structurally, if our GDP continues to grow at 7-8%, and population is slowing down, then you'll come to a point where the average GDP per capita in India is $6,000. So either you play the long game, right? Or you have to play a game of premiumness. You either have to have a premium destination or around good quality content, which is why we did Magzter and premium content, or you got to build premium ad tech, right? Because then you're serving the advertiser, which is another journey that we are on with nextverse.ai. And so I think you've got to choose your battles, because as a startup, you will never have access to the resources that a conglomerate like Jio brings to the table, right? In all humility. So I think you've got to pick those playgrounds, those battlefields, and say, I'm going to take these bets. And I think that's the next journey of growth that we are pivoting towards.
Fantastic, Umang. And you alluded to a point that India is not China. Of course, India is not uniform. That's the point. We're also a democracy. So clearly, we're not China. But China has been able to build its own digital ecosystem.
Yes.
Right? Do you think somebody who's seen various waves in technology has now building a company. Do you think we Indians can really build our own digital ecosystem next 10, 20 years?
So structurally, if you look at how we are modeled in India, we have two great examples which the government of India has built, which are unparalleled anywhere in the world, right? The first is the Aadhaar identity. And today, your and my life as consumers, whether we use DigiYatra for travel or everything is linked to that identity. So we have that one identity platform that touched 1 billion users in under 5 years, even faster than WhatsApp, right? The second thing that we built, which is unparalleled, is UPI, right? If you think about payments in China, it's dominated by Alibaba and WeChat, right? The government of India created a level playing field, no dominance, right? All banks, including apps, including WhatsApp, participate in that ecosystem. And today we're the largest payments infrastructure. So the way I look at it is there's identity and a network, right? Now we've got to take those learnings to advertising. Because if you think about someone who has to build an ad ecosystem in the country, today you have out of 90,000 crores in digital, 90% leaving the country, right? Now, when you think about that as a model, there is learnings from UPI around common identity. There is learnings from networks, around Aadhaar from a common identity and UPI from networks that can be used in the world of advertising, right? How do you build transparency? See, the biggest issue that advertisers will tell you is if you're going to a platform, of course, you need first-party data, you need clean rooms, you need attribution, you need a whole bunch of things. But today, it's very skewed, right? Because the duopoly kind of control the ecosystem, they control the clean rooms, they control the attribution, and so I think structural shifts have an opportunity to be built. The government has been very clear in its last two attempts at Aadhaar and UPI that it does not benefit anyone. I think we have, being a secular sovereign nation right from our constitution, those principles have been applied so beautifully to these tech elements. There is a massive opportunity to now apply it to advertising. And I think, it's a journey. We will get there. I'm confident. Because if I told you you could travel without your wallet or your credit cards, even 10 years ago, you wouldn't believe me. Today, none of us are carrying anything. We just carry our mobile phone. We do everything, whether we buy a nariyal pani or we buy a single tomato or we pay a hotel bill or a restaurant bill, it's on UPI. Right?
Sure.
So that's the transformation that I think is the journey.
So you are optimistic that it will happen?
I think it definitely needs government support.
And define that. What kind of government support? It's a change in policy. Is it a policy that helps Indian entrepreneurs that are building those kind of ecosystems and companies? Is it market making? Like in drones, the government said not only will we prefer Indian made drones, for the next 1 year we are buying 9,000 crores of drones. Yeah. Or is it capital? What is it?
So I think capital is less of an issue because capital always finds a way to power good ideas. That I'm a believer in, right? The core is the infrastructure. Today, if you're dependent on another ID or another cookie or another clean room, right, which is proprietary to a player, any player, it could be Indian or global, that's not a level playing field. So if there is a structure or a platform network, you could call it policy, that comes through centrally, right, that unifies the standard. And then, sure, if platform X makes some amount of money, B makes some amount of money, D makes some amount of money, all depends on either the power of the ad tech or the power of the audience, right? I think that level playing field needs to come in. I don't know exactly whether it would be a combination of policy or infrastructure, but I think both, to be honest.
Now let me focus on the VerSe innovation and Dailyhunt journey. In the last 8-9 years, what would you count as your significant milestones? And where is VerSe innovation headed?
So I think we had the last 8-9 years have been characterized by three journeys, roughly of 3-4-3 as a model in terms of years. The first 3 years is when, Viru and I believed in this whole concept of local language audiences. They're going to power the next billion users of growth, which is what we've seen, aided by the cheapest data in the world, pioneered by Google at $0.16 per GB. And we're consuming 20 gigs of data a day, right? 5 hours on the internet. I think that first 3-4 years of growth of Dailyhunt was very, very, very strong. We had not raised too much money. We had not burned too much money. So we were building it humbly and quietly. And suddenly, Geo exploded the whole user growth because those many more audiences came onto the platform with free data. Data is like a drug. Once you start consuming it, you use it, right? So I would say that's the first journey of growth. The second journey of growth, which got characterized with a lot of madness, and if I could admit, even some bad behavior, wherein TikTok got banned, and a bunch of companies, including us, raised a lot of money and burnt a lot of money in the opportunity to create the next TikTok, right?
The short form
video, right? So we launched Josh, raised a lot of capital, invested a lot of capital into user growth, music licensing, creators, and got the eyeballs, right? And that was the second phase of growth. And bad behavior because you increased burn to drive growth. The third phase is what we embarked on about, I would say, 12 to 18 months ago, which is profitability. And I think the key learnings along that journey is if you have to take a company and make it a public company, performance is, growth matters, but you also have to focus on the bottom line.
Yeah, the profitability and the path to profitability matters.
Is very, very key. So over the last 12 months, we've now come to a point where, we companies just nearing break-even, EBITDA positive on a monthly basis. We've cut down our burn very significantly. We've had to make some very significant pivots. The first pivot that we did was around short video. And we said, hey, this gets the eyeballs, but nobody has been able to monetize it, right? We tried doing monetization with live content, but live has efficacy issues on the quality of content. So we shut that down. And now we've built out an influencer marketplace where we connect brands with influencers. In fact, we are the largest influencer marketing platform, serving a large number of e-commerce platforms in India. And we've built out a microdrama business, which is on a paid subscription. So that's one pivot that we've made. On the news side of the business, where we aggregate content from various players, there's One India, there's the whole Dailyhunt stack of players, but then there's Magzter, right? And we said, let's focus on premiumness as well. Now we have over 1 million paying subscribers in India. And the value proposition is great. If you can offer a consumer value, so today we aggregate content from 10,000 publications, newspapers and magazines around the world in 50 languages. The value of that yearly subscription is worth 54 lakh rupees. And we give it to the consumer in 3,000 rupees, right? Now we're reaching more and more of those consumers, even through business partnerships. Could be airlines, airports, hotels, right? So on and so forth. So that's the second big pivot that we've made. The third big pivot that we've made is using agentic AI to create an ad exchange, an AI-driven ad exchange, which is called nextverse.ai. And that endeavor is really how do you get better performance ROIs for the advertiser, and you can play in a global market as well. You're not restricted by the India ARPU. And the fourth one, which is pretty new, which has come out, and the quality of the content that we've created, I think, is parallel to the best in the world. It's called Spark Originals or Spark AI, which is truly Gen AI based content. It was recently showcased by us and the Google team at the AI Summit with Dennis Habis also in the room. And the quality of that work is unparalleled because if I show it to you, you would not make out that this is AI.
You actually showed it to me.
I showed it to you a little while ago.
And, I thought you started a content company and you told me you just created these through AI.
Yeah, I think the opportunity right now, what we've done is we've worked with brands to create AI-driven advertising, right? So that's one leg of it. We're working with a few companies to actually create movies for them, right? So we're a tech platform. They own the content and we're doing that. But now I think the AI is changing the game so quickly that I think content creation will be disrupted. It can be
So are you
used.
saying, the traditional production houses that create content for television channels, for OTT platforms, will have to rethink their strategy totally?
I think every business on the planet will need to rethink its strategy with AI. Take healthcare. Today, with AI imaging, it is got far more learning signals and data points. Radiologists are seeing the first level of disruption. With Claude and its ability, and GPT and its ability to write code, software engineering is seeing that disruption, right? With AI and content and the quality that the models can now generate, and we're working across several models, including some of our own training that we're doing with these models. I think the quality of content that is being created is getting disrupted, right? So I don't have the answer in terms of what will be that business model. But in my mind, it has to solve a consumer pain point. Does a consumer need a 1 minute summary of his favorite news of the day? And can AI create it for me in a digestible format or an engaging format? Can brands make catchy content for different platforms? What you put on Snapchat is very different from what you put on Facebook, right? Or what you put on Dailyhunt, which is more local language oriented. So I think the pace of change over the next 3 years, and if AGI becomes a reality that, Ray Dalio and a few others, Elon Musk is betting on it. Even manufacturing, companies tell me that, hey, brick and mortar will not be impacted. The cost of a Tesla was $140,000, and today you buy a Tesla in the US at $17,000 or $18,000. And if the cost of a humanoid comes down to $6,000 or $8,000, that's the cost of can replace help, right? Can transform how factories work, right? And so I think every industry is going to see that transformation and disruption. We have just about gotten started. So nextverse.ai is 6 months old. Spark Originals AI and a lot of work is there on our website is a few months old. So we're kind of leaning into this next era of AI-driven growth. We're very excited about it, but I don't think I have an answer to tell you how big will that business be or how fast will that pivot happen, right? But I think if we don't pivot, we'll die. I'm pretty convinced about it. And it's true for all
Considering of
businesses.
pivots, you talked about the burn coming down significantly, VerSe Innovation and Dailyhunt being profitable on a monthly basis. How has the burn come down?
Yeah.
What have you done? Are you using more AI in the way you're doing your tech ops? What's it that has led to the burn coming down?
So, 3, 4 big things. One, we really streamlined AI in operations. So imagine what we are. We don't really create content. We're a platform. We get content, UGC content, PGC content, newspaper partners, all of that, and we ingest the content into our system. There's a lot of tagging, processing, understanding of the content that comes into play. There was a lot of human moderation in the middle. There was a lot of content tagging operations in different languages, right? That was in play. And so when you think about it, we went through that journey of, there was a lot of content moderation that was tagged as well. So in the last few years, what we've done is taken all of that to AI, right? AI has automated the entire content workflow, the entire content ingestion engine, the entire content understanding engine, the entire moderation engine, and the notification engine, right? So that's AI driven. The second area and that really helped streamline manpower cost. The second area that we've focused on big time is how AI can be used around ad tech. And that's where Nextverse has come in. The third area that we've streamlined is really focused on our serving costs or our cloud costs. And we pivoted away from short form video, which really brought the processing, ingression, encoding, decoding requirements to be lowered, moved into a polycloud to a unicloud environment, re-architected the code to Kubernetize it, and that's a process where the code can exist on smaller containers, but as it scales, auto-scaling can kind of work on a cloud to bring down our IT and tech costs. The fourth area that was more voluntary, we said we're not going to invest in sales and marketing for a little while till we get the business to profitability. And the fifth
And
area,
please dwell on that.
yeah,
We are not going to invest in sales and marketing. So you're not hiring more people.
we're not hiring more people.
You're not investing in brand building. You're uh, investing in organic.
We're investing in organic growth, absolutely. So, you know, I don't see any harm in that model, because today, when I look at it, the consumers that matter to a brand is 150 million people in SEC AB urban India. And that's 150 million people, that cut-off data, that tier one consuming audience. As long as you have that tier one consuming audience, and Anurag, it's kind of counterintuitive, but when you think about it, I could give you a platform that has only short video, and you could be doing what I call time pass on it. But if you come to a news platform like yours, and you're a partner or ours, you've got to read. Whether you're reading in Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Gujarati, Hindi, Marathi, or English, you've got to read. And that's a sign of literacy, right? And advertisers want to target literate audiences. Now, of course, you've got the programmatic disruption that's driving all publishing businesses. It's a race to the bottom.
Yeah, Google changed its algorithm 6 months back, and 90% of the revenues of news publishers evaporated.
Right?
35 to 40% of journal publishers, horizontal publishers, they were evaporated. So is there a way out of it?
So the only way out...
You were saying it's a race to the bottom.
It is a race to the bottom, the way I look at it, and I don't want to mean to be controversial, but if powers of algorithms are behest in one party, whoever that may be, it doesn't create a level playing field. And so our answer to that journey is, hey, we'll build out our own programmatic exchange, right? And that's what we've done with nextverse.ai, early days, right? But that's the inspiration behind it, to say, let's go and solve that problem structurally, integrate with advertisers, with SSPs, with DSPs, direct publishers, because we have a legacy of direct publisher partners like yourself. We work with direct demand, both with advertisers and agencies, scale that business globally, but do it in a way wherein we create real clean rooms, right? And give trust and transparency. So it's a journey. I don't think I can't declare that we've got there yet. But the attempt to do that was, if you don't, then suddenly you're playing in a market where CPMs are going to continue to crash because you're not in control of your destiny.
Brilliant. And Umang, again, VerSe grew through organic growth in Dailyhunt, but also acquired businesses which had synergies and would make your offering complete and somewhere fitted in your proposition to the consumer, so to say. You acquired One India. How's it gone?
So One India has been actually a really nice acquisition, which we did historically. The business has grown. It's crossed 100 crores in revenue. It's a well-managed business. It's EBITDA positive, single-digit EBITDA, and is growing quite nicely. It filled a really nice gap around local language content. Interestingly, in the last few months, and you can check this out, a whole bunch of their properties are ranked number 1 by UVs and page views. Good Returns in finance, Bold Sky in wellness and entertainment, Filmy Beat in Bollywood, Gizbot in gadgets, Drive Spark in automobiles. One India itself has leadership in some of the regional languages around news content as well. So I think that business has given us a preview of how to build a successful EBITDA positive business. Magzter is another acquisition that we did a year and a half ago. The business is EBITDA positive and is growing. The big focus there is, how do you cut down on customer acquisition cost? Because at $3,000, 3,000 rupees a year subscription, and you have to revenue share with the publisher, you're not left with too much if your CAC is very high for a paying user. So to bring down that CAC, really focused on B2B partnerships, government partnerships to reach that audience. The third one is Value Leaf, which is more recent, which is a performance marketing engine, kind of pivoting that. It was indexed around gaming. The gaming ecosystem has seen disruption with the apps ban, so really focused on more FSI and other performance verticals around commerce. So I think acquisitions are a journey that we'll continue to look at if they fit into the core thesis around. We have a few premium destinations. So often people ask me, who's VerSe, right? And how do you really make money? I think for us, VerSe is a combination of premium audiences across key destinations, monetizable local language audiences on Dailyhunt, paying users, largely English speaking, on Magzter. Now taking Josh down that same path, monetized through the top brands and users on microdrama subscriptions. And at the end of it all, we make most of our money through ad tech, right? We're an ads-based business, which is now building these micro subscriptions around whether it's microdramas or Magzter paid content. And so essentially we're a platform business with premium destinations and a premium ad tech in the making, which we now want to take global because you want to play in a global audience as well. But that's been our journey.
Brilliant, Umang. You seem very confident of where VerSe is headed. You are profitable on a monthly basis. So are we going to see an IPO soon from VerSe? Is it going to happen in 2026 or 27?
So the way I look at it is, we've seen 2 or 3 journeys of disruption. The first journey of disruption was around news aggregation, which we capitalized on. The second, and actually it was started with a lot of Chinese players back then. If you remember, NewsDog from Tencent and UC News from Alibaba, those businesses shut down even before the China app ban. So we were able to capitalize it. The second was this growth and non-monetization of short video. This third is getting to profitability. I think the key part that we are focused on as a company is value, growth, and profitable growth, right? I think that era of burning money to grow has gone. There's no free money available. So the next 12 to 15 months is really indexing that business back to profitable growth, being a key member in India's digital ecosystem, working with government, help drive policy, demand, ecosystem plays, because I think you have to be an ecosystem player. And then think about that IPO journey. So that IPO could be 27, 28, whenever, right? But I think the ability to prove and have a track record of profitable growth is important. Just crossing a milestone is not the end of the journey. So I think we need to develop that chops of putting those points on the board and then absolutely look at an IPO in the future.
I want to ask you, since the time I started Exchange for Media, then last 12 plus years, Businessworld, there are very few product companies in this space that have come from India.
Yes.
Right? We had an opportunity with Coup, with the turbulence with Twitter and the transition to X. It didn't work out, right? Will we see more Indian companies in this space really becoming big and global? Is it a possibility or it's never going to happen?
So, if I just take an example of both our businesses, right? Even in your business, Annurag, you serve a consumer. You're a premium content creator around whether it's business or advertising with the Businessworld group, with the Exchange for Media group and, other businesses. And you've made a very successful pivot to say, I'll make my money B2B. I'll serve my consumer B2C, right? Largely on freemium-based models, right? But I'll make my money B2B. I think that's a similar learning that we've had. Very similar learning. yes, there is that finite paying ability to pay users and microtransactions, and we are playing that journey. But largely, we're a B2B company serving a B2C audience. Now, to say that this will ever become global from a B2C side is hard. Let's be real. The kind of investment that went into building any of the players within the duopoly or triopoly or quadropoly globally, they spent 8-10 years investing, getting the eyeballs without any monetization. In China, the companies that did that had government support to say, we're going to lock down the global players from coming in, so you have the opportunity to do that, right? I think to build B2C destinations is very, very hard globally. But I'm a big believer that B2B with AI, there is an opportunity in India, and that opportunity is now, right? Think about it. You could create great AI-based content as a platform that can be used by advertisers and businesses all around the world. Every business needs to create content. It could be marketing posts, it could be marketing material, sales material for the on-street, feet on
Every
street.
company on
Planet
earth has to be a content company.
at the end of the day,
Yeah,
right?
content to commerce.
Exactly. So you can power it with AI-driven content creation. You could look at businesses. So if you think about how I think Jensen and our IT minister, Honorable Ashwini Vaishnavji, explained this even at the Davos summit. There are 5 layers to that stack, right? There is the infrastructure layer, let's say, which is the compute, which is GPUs, which is an NVIDIA-dominated play. Then there is a platform player or an architecture or the cloud, where you have the big 3 or 4 cloud players in the world. Then there is the operating layer. There is the LLM language model layer. And then there are the apps on top. I mean, let's take a very simple use case. Even today, when you call your favorite telco, bank, or insurance company, it's press 1 for this and Y for this and 3 for this. It's not solved using AI, right? There's a huge opportunity to build vertical disruption. So when I look at B2B plays, whether it's on the ad tech side, whether it's on content creation side, whether it's on customer service side, I think there is a massive play to build global brands out of India. And that's my true belief. I didn't want to sugarcoat this, but that's the way I look at it.
And Umang, what about audio? One area that you haven't yet gone is audio.
Yeah.
Will we see anything in audio from you? What is your view on the audio ecosystem?
So it has grown very significantly in the last few years. There are a couple of players that have emerged from India that have been driving that growth. But when I look at the profitability comes when you're serving a global audience, right?
Scale.
The scale, right? Again, it feels like a phenomena of building eyeballs at either low gross margin unit economics or not being able to get that to profitability just out of the India ARPU alone. Because it's still playing in that same ecosystem play. And if you look at the total play, 90,000 crores on ads and about 35,000 on micropayments, which a large part of it is dominated by the telcos through the bundling, right? So there's very little money left to play with. So unless you're building a global platform or getting audiences to pay from different markets, I think it's a business that till now we've stayed away from. We don't have any plans right now to address that. We just want to remain focused on growing our core and having these new AI offshoots to really drive that growth to become the new core.
There is in the content curation space, there is your competition from InShots, right? How do you see that?
So I think the market is large enough for several players. I think today InShot serves a very niche mobile younger audience on English. Our base is much larger in terms of audiences, but we have a mix of English and a lot of local language audiences. So I think there are distinct use cases, Anurag. market has space for multiple players.
Let me ask you, because you see data, uh, you see user behavior, you see what's working with advertisers.
Yeah.
From the vantage point that you have of looking at data on your platform, give us some trends that are right now very young, but are they likely to be very important going forward?
So, early days, I'll say an anecdote and then I'll come to maybe some trends that we're seeing. I think we're living in a very aspirational India today. The youngster on the street is getting more educated. Today, in yesteryears, English was less than 10% of consumption of DAO or daily active users. Today, it's about 45% on the platform. So we have multilingual consumers who I can consume content in Hindi and English or English. Likewise, in local languages in English. So education levels have definitely grown, right? If nothing else. We did this poll in 2019. It was kind of a funny experience. It was called Dailyhunt Trust of the Nation poll. It was a political poll. And it was driven by AC Nielsen. So we paid AC Nielsen to serve this poll from their servers in the US via a widget in our app. It was a poll for 10 days, 14 hard-hitting questions trying to predict the outcome of the 2019 general elections. The outcome was pretty amazing. This was early days of Dailyhunt. And we launched the results. And Nielsen came on stage and said, hey, listen, we had totally 9 million respondents to this poll. Deduped, it was about 6 million. And this is the largest poll in the history of mankind. Now, my job was done in my mind because the other data that they added, that out of the 21,000 zip codes in India, I think we had respondents from over 18,000. So we had the pulse of Bharat. It was incidental that 69% of that poll actually indicated, and this was done in April 2019, way before the elections in July, right? So 3 months before the elections, before the EC ban on the quiet period comes into the polling process. But 69% of that poll had predicted that Prime Minister Modi would be re-elected back into power with an even better majority than the last time in 2014. And that's what happened. And so what I always say is that I think we're a humble platform, but we have the pulse of Bharat, right? If we serve too many ads on the platform, the users react. If we don't give them pertinent value, they react. They're a value-conscious user. We're seeing several trends. So one, we're definitely seeing education levels go up, English content consumption growing. The second trend is very regional, right? So in, let's say, Tamil Nadu, the interest in local politics outweighs what's happening at the center. It's completely flip-flop. We see any news on UP being consumed by audiences outside of UP. And then we kind of realize, because UP drives so much migrant workers all across the country, and it is the largest state, right? It's like the 25 crore people driving, and UP kind of determines what's going to happen in the next election as well. So we see UP going through a transformation. I think we see law and order issues of cases coming down. We see a lot of infrastructure investment going in. We see in Hyderabad, Telangana, it's all influenced by the movie industry there. So we see the local movie industry driving everything. It's like local politics in Tamil Nadu, right? So we see very interesting regional trends. Different markets have different characteristics. But I think that just goes to prove, when I look at India, we are the United States of Europe, right? Every time you pass a state boundary, culture, religion, language, food, beliefs, they all change. We're united, of course, by the sovereign and the rupee at the center. But we're such a diverse state. And I think that diversity is there in the data.
Umang, if you had to, of course, AI, you outlined how AI has really become a driving force of your offerings, and how you're trying to pivot around building those new offerings. But what should we expect from Dailyhunt in 2026?
So I think one, a reset on what is the meaning of growth. I think we all startups and us included went through this crazy phase of infinite crazy growth, burning money. I think those days are gone. So the first thing that you will see is, and all businesses in India have been impacted by the gaming ban. They were the largest advertising vertical, right? That's pretty standard if you're a digital advertising business. So I think you'll see a reset in that narrative. And the first reset is driving profitability, right? The second thing that we think over the next 12 months we're going to focus on is driving, good CAGR growth, right? Something which is doable, measurable, and achievable. Now, whether you say it's 20% CAGR, 25, 30%, that's all, how the market plays out, and you and I can't predict it. Suddenly there was a war in Iran that was, out of anyone's control. So there will be those forces up and down, but I think predictable growth. The third piece is indexation on profitability, right? You can't be burning money to grow. And I think the fourth thing that you will see, hopefully, is us putting some points in the board where NextVerse.ai's adoption and numbers grow, Spark AI's adoption grows, our influencer marketplace, our Collab AI-based platform grows, and adds new growth engines, and our premium content within Dailyhunt and Magzter grows, right? But again, in a defined, fiscally prudent, profitable manner.
Fantastic. In your journey, you met many leaders. You took the names of 2 leaders right up front. But in this technology, content, startup play, give me 3 Indian leaders that you look up to or you admire.
So the first leader that I look up to, who I think has a very big, hairy vision and has audacious implementation skills locally from India, would be Uday Shankar. I think what Uday did at the news business, what he then did on the entertainment business, and now what he's doing with the team at Jio, they're outstanding journeys. I think every time I meet him, I learn. He's got words of wisdom. He is deeply passionate about news because he comes from that world. But he takes bold bets and he takes big bets and he goes all in. I think that is one individual. For me, he's a standout individual. The second individual who I think has had the single biggest impact on any brand in terms of change would be Adobe CEO Shantanu Narayan. I mean, he's Indian, came out of Hyderabad, but if you think about it, and he's just stepped down as the CEO. Last week was the announcement. But when I look at his journey, he took over a company in 2008 as the CEO during the subprime crisis. Revenue, I think, was $2 billion. Market cap, if I remember correctly, was $6 or $7 billion. And by 2015, he had the guts to say, I'm not going to flirt with the cloud model. I'm going all in. I'm killing my perpetual licensing business. I'm dropping earnings per share that year by 70%. 70%. I'm going to re-educate the street that don't goal me on revenue, but on annualized recurring revenue. And by 2015, I remember market cap from, had grown from that 6-8 billion levels to 250 billion. That's the steepest rise in market cap that I've ever seen. And, it really took a big bet. The third person who is now at an intersection of media and tech again, but more tech than media, I think the way Satya Nadella has transformed Microsoft, right? It's today a $4 trillion company, back again, and it's in the top 3 companies by market cap. So I think these 3 leaders from pure India, who's still operating in India for me, Uday. In terms of CEOs of brands, I was a deep admirer of 2 individuals who built consumer-based businesses in India. One is Shiv, built Pepsi, and then a lot of other brands. And if there was one person I had to call out who I'm a big fan of, is Suresh from Nestle. Imagine how he responded during the Maggie crisis and how he pivoted Nestle, right? And another individual who is not in media, but I think has always been someone I've looked up to and admired is the Make My Trip founder, Deep Kalra. I think, again, built a very elegant, profitable business and a tough business, right? Travel is not an easy business. So those are the people that come to mind.
Brilliant. Now, in the startup world, co-founders matter. VRoot started the business before you joined him. Tell us a bit about that journey. How did you come together? How's your relationship? And how do you kind of balance roles within this large setup?
So Viru and I actually met when I was running Facebook. And it was serendipitous because I was translating Facebook into 16 local languages in that journey. And he had done the local language journey. Of course, we were driving explosive growth at that time. And those days, News Hunt wasn't growing that much. And so we kind of came together with that core belief. One thing led to another, one meeting, 3 meetings, and we kind of realized we're deeply passionate about solving consumer problems. And so when I decided to become a founder, we both talked and we said, let's do this together. And I think it's been a wonderful journey where we've kind of filled each other's gaps quite nicely. He has strengths which are deeply analytical. I have strengths which are else. And we've kind of complemented each other in the journey and yet known who takes the front seat and who takes the back seat. And I think the ability to do that with infinite trust is what has kind of brought us together. But I think it's always nice to have a strong partner.
And is there a playbook or rules to select or find a co-founder?
I think
beyond serendipity?
I think the playbook, it's a relationship that you have to invest in, right? Like any relationship. So, the journey now, even with my leadership team, and what we do is 100% transparency to the point of discomfort, right? So imagine if you and I are partners in something, you go for 5 meetings, I go for another 5. Just sometimes debriefing on what happened in those 5 meetings itself can be a miss. I could forget to update you, or you could forget to update me. But saying, "Nahi, I'm going to invest that time to have it 100% transparent," and then now extending that culture to across your leadership team, I think that's the only way you can build trust. It ultimately comes down to trust, and trust requires an investment of time and effort.
Brilliant. I couldn't agree more with you. Now let's focus a bit on your personal journey. It is a transformational journey. I don't use the word. Those of you who've known Umang for a while can see how he looks. I almost didn't recognize him when I met him today, inspired to seeing his photos last week. He was overweight, and in the last 5-6 years, his health, fitness, well-being journey is amazing. His body markers are in the primest of condition, and he looks younger at least by 10 years. So, Umang, how did you do it? And take our viewers through the journey.
Thank you. I'm almost embarrassed, but I usually never talk about myself. But I think at peak, I was 148 kilos. I'm 66 kilos now. I've gone from 48 waist jeans to 28 today, from triple XL or 4XLs to extra small today. And I feel very fulfilled. But I think that journey started with looking at the mirror and not liking who I saw and being very open around it and imbibing that. I didn't like who I saw. All my parameters were off the charts. I have a small nuclear family and parents who live with me. And so if I had to be there for them, I needed to get fitter. Now, of course, you and I could be hit by a bus and that's the end of the journey. But at the end of the day, we do this for the love for our families, right? And for ourselves. And if we have to be there for them, then we have to focus on ourselves. And I think the learning or the lesson that I learned is I didn't like the guy in the mirror, but I wanted to fall in love with the guy in the mirror. because you've got to start by accepting your deficiencies and weaknesses, loving yourself to be able to share that love with anyone else, right? And that was a deeply low moment for me, wherein I almost characterize it to say I was chasing something between 28 and 40. It seemed to have been a bigger title and more money, but along the way, I lost track of what truly matters, and that is good health. And so I, at some point decided I'm going to transform myself. Um, I follow a very regimentalized schedule now.
Share it with people who may get inspired and may implement those universal first principles for good health.
So I think the principles of good health and longevity, and I've spent some time learning from the best, come down to 4 fundamentals. The first is sleep. The second is exercise. The third is food, what we eat. And the fourth is community. And what I mean by community is whom we spend time with, who our loved ones, our friends, right? When it comes to sleep, I've of course, there are the bad days when you're flying and you can't do it, but I'll make it up on the weekends. I look to sleep at least 7 hours. So at least 48 to 50 hours in a week, right? I'm not doing 8-9 hours, but I'm trying to see, even if I did one night with 6 hours, can I get an hour's nap in the middle, right? Can I average 7 hours a day? So I think that is extremely important because that's very key. The second thing is around exercise. I spend between 90 minutes to 120 minutes a day focused on exercise, and I add sauna and steam with it. The third is food. I am low on carbs. I eat good carbs like quinoa or shakarkandi, or I eat fat, which would be avocado. But I avoid processed sugar, processed foods, packet-based foods, and I have given up alcohol as well. So I don't touch alcohol. So I eat healthy, but I do intermittent fasting regularly. It's a way of life. So that's the second piece around food. The third piece around food. And community, earlier you'd find me at a lot of industry events and, more out there and more social. I've kind of gone into a little bit of my own shell, but I want to spend the finite time that matters with people that I love, right? Whether it's near and dear family or near and dear friends. And so I think the combination of these 4 has put me on the right track, hopefully. And it's also helped me get a lot more disciplined in my outlook towards life.
Brilliant. And how do you deal with stress? Do you have any stress or no stress?
No, I do. There's a lot of stress. There's so much stress around. Being an entrepreneur in India is not for the faint-hearted. So it's very stressful.
How do you deal with that?
So I think, one, you have to have good support systems, right? So my forum of friends, 8-10 friends, we have a great support system there. My biggest support system would be my wife. My other big support system would be my mentor, who is an extremely accomplished individual. So I think if you have...
And who's that? Mentorship. Mentorship is very important.
Yeah, this one is deeply private, so I won't share the name, but he's an illustrious figure. He's 72, works till date, but I think has had a well-rounded perspective around a whole bunch of areas: family, business, personal growth. And so we don't have all the answers, right? I think the ability to have that personal board of directors between your friends, your wife, a mentor, who can give you guidance, right? And show you the mirror. Because sometimes we don't want to acknowledge what we know, right? Or what we can see, but So I think going to them at times of stress is my single biggest. The other thing that I've now started doing a lot is I'm picking up some hobbies so that 1 hour I can de-stress, whether it is playing tennis every day or paddle or learning how to DJ more recently, just switching off that 1 hour. And the other piece that's helping me now, and I've often failed at it, is just keeping my phone away. Because nothing will happen in that 90 minutes that you don't look at your phone.
You'll miss the Dailyhunt update.
Yeah, I know. We send 20 plus notifications in a day. Yeah, we will miss
But
that.
Umang, good to talk to you. If I talk to you in 6 months from now, what would have Umang Bedi and VerSe achieved? Of course, you talked about month-on-month profitability, profitable growth, building on the new offerings. That you already.
Yeah.
Give us something more.
I hope to have the following done. One, I think we would be making a few very exciting hires and announcements in the near future. So you'll see that around technology, corporate governance, and a whole lot of areas there. And that's in the imminent future. So you'll see a lot of that. Hopefully we have points on the board to share around new AI investments, right? And the third thing is actual growth numbers around it. And from a personal side, I hope I get fitter because it's a journey.
There's more scope? You want to be ultra human, truly speaking?
No, in the sense that I think I've lost too much weight, and so I need to build some muscle. And so I just fix that ratio a little bit.
Brilliant. My last question to you. If you were to give advice to young founders who are starting businesses now or have started businesses some time back, what would be your advice to them?
So I think my single biggest advice to founders today is, as founders in the past, we were very scared because we didn't know a certain area. And let's start with technology, right? Or let's say finance. Let's say finance people love to intimidate non-finance people with their knowledge, right? In the same way, we had ideas or problems that we wanted to solve, but we didn't know how to code, or we didn't know technology, or we didn't know cloud, and we didn't know how to write an app, and we didn't know how to build a platform. I think those days are all behind us. So I think my only guidance to founders is, if you're passionate about a problem, and it's a big problem, and it keeps you up at night in terms of knowing how to solve the problem, then you have AI today as an awesome companion in that journey to help you build it. So I think if you want to build, there's no better time than now. If you have to build, you have to be AI first. It cannot be a process in your business. It has to be an AI-led business today. And I think if that idea or the problem is big enough that you want to solve, and you can apply AI to it and start with models that are available before trying to build an LLM or doing any custom learning on your own. Models today are super powerful from writing code to documenting to creating presentations to content, right? I think that's what I would say. AI first business, passionate about solving the problem. It should keep you up at night, and just get started.
And he also said you should be able to deal with uncertainty in his own way.
Yeah.
If you can deal with uncertainty, I think you can be a good entrepreneur. Umang, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you so
All
much.
the best to VerSe and Dailyhunt.
Thank you.
And may you continue on your fitness journey and inspire other people to be fitter.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate the time, Annurag. It was a very enriching conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.